Welcome to Chats with Changemakers, the Northeast podcast for people who want to make the world a better place. Hello and welcome to Chats with Changemakers. I'm your host, Kate Duffy. This series has been generously sponsored by the Social Enterprise Academy, who champion leadership and learning for people driving social change. So be sure to check out the links in the show notes for accredited and non-accredited opportunities in your area. In this episode, Vicky Morgan shares her inspiring story of establishing Repurposeful CIC, a social enterprise promoting reuse and purposeful activity based in Ashington, Northumberland. She discusses her motivations and the journey so far, and this is going to be a brilliant one for the creatives. Let's hear from Vicky. Hi, Vicky.
Good morning, Kate.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Busy?
Good,
you?
Good. Okie dokie. So let's jump straight in. Tell us why we're talking to you today. What is it that you're really passionate about in the world?
Okay, so if I give you a little bit of background, I have a son who has special needs. So he's got quite complicated special needs. He has Down syndrome and autism. I have chronic fatigue condition. We moved to the Northeast. So lots of changes, lots of challenges. And I was looking for something that would help me feel a sense of purpose. I've given up previous career in teaching, my caring responsibilities, health and so on. So I was looking for something that helped me exist outside of caring. I don't try and take just caring because it's the key thing in my life, but I needed something that gave me a sense of purpose. And what I was looking for was, you'll have heard about Ikigai, that kind of junction point of what my skills, what my passion about, what does the world need, what do I need in terms of kind of making it work, and ideally the board will eventually pay me. And I looked at what I'd done with my son during lockdown, and we made a lot of activity boxes. So he likes a kind of a closed-ended, simple, straightforward task. So I got the boxes, individual reams of paper come in, we had a task, and then we did that. And we did sort of 3 of those a session, went and did something else, came back. And I thought, do you know what? They would work for other people. So these activity boxes they're reusable, so you don't kind of use things up. They kind of give that sense of purpose. It's interesting. It's not a worksheet. And so I thought, that there's need for those in the world, and they can be for people with additional needs, dementia, care homes, hospital education, recovering from strokes. So having moved to the Northeast, I thought I'd love to do something in the future will involve my son. Mm-hmm. A lot of particularly young adults with learning difficulties are underemployed. And I know from fellow caregivers that there's a lot of families where they are occupying somebody's they're keeping their loved one busy for a few days a week. And so I know that that's coming in my future. And I'd love something that would help my son feel that he has some purpose and that he can contribute to the world. So we're going to shape something that does that. And the result of that and moving up here was, let's make the activity boxes, and then let's make it so that people can volunteer to help put those together in a kind of inclusive volunteering. Nobody's left behind from the benefit of volunteering. And when we came up here, I was like, right, I'm going to go to the scrap store. Now, we'd been to the scrap store in Gloucester a lot of the time. And I moved up here, so I'm going to go to the scrap store. And then I discovered there isn't one. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, so we'll add that into the mix. And Repurposeful was born.
Fab. Perfect. And what an amazing story to get to this point. So let's get straight in. Tell us about Repurposeful CIC.
So this always comes with an apology. I do not have the 1-minute Dragon Den pitch for this. As you will appreciate, having sort of started at the kind of end result and working back, there's quite a lot to it. And part of that is to actually look at what's going to be sustainable financially in the long term. So where we can eventually build income streams. We've got what we call our triple impact. So we have our reuse scrap store. Now, some people in the Northeast will know what scrap stores are. For a little while, there was one called House of Objects in Benton. They are basically where reusable resources that would otherwise go to landfill are collected by an organisation to be passed on to the community. And that's for creative repurposing. So depending on the generations, I say, if you watch Blue Peter, mm-hmm. you think junk models, usually Tracy Island is the one that comes up. If you're younger generation or you've got small kids, Mr. Maker. Uh-huh. But basically, things that particularly small businesses are paying to get rid of that still have worth, keep them in the circular economy, reuse them. So usually I have lots of props, cardboard tubes, fabric remnants, offcuts from vinyl printing, all sorts of different kind of packaging, end-of-line products, anything that you could basically junk model with that's safe and clean, and that we can just keep going, give it another lease of life before it ends up either reused, recycled, or in landfill. So there's scrap stores all over the country. There's a wonderful network of people running them. I thought, well, okay, I can't go to one. We'll open one. And so that's been probably the main focus, because that's kind of our input. And then the next bit, the middle bit, the second impact is about, as I said, about inclusive volunteering. So there's lots of people who can't do formal volunteering. They can't do regular volunteering. You can't ask them to turn up and work in an age concern shop every Friday morning. So we are trying to find a way of engaging with those people, mainly through network organisation. The community network that we've got, we don't have capacity to handle it all ourselves, but we work with them and we basically drop off boxes of resources that they process in some way towards becoming part of our activity boxes. We kind of make a point that it can be anybody, whether it's a mental health problem, whether it's somebody who's at home because they've got caring responsibilities, maybe it's somebody who's really lost kind of belief in themselves. A lot of the network will know about the benefits of volunteering. And actually, if we can help somebody just to feel like despite their circumstances, they can actually still contribute and make a difference. So that's kind of the middle bit that we've got. And then all of this goes towards our activity boxes, which, if I'm honest, we haven't got many finished at this stage because it's been so busy, but that's kind of the third bit. And those activity boxes, as I said, were for any organisation that works to support anybody with an additional need. So those are kind of our three parts, our triple impact. And depending, you know this one with juggling, sometimes I'm juggling scrap store stuff, sometimes it's the volunteering, and we've had some really lovely funded projects to support that. And sometimes it's prototyping activity boxes.
Amazing. And how long have you been going? So whereabouts are you on this journey? Because it sounds massive. Is it massive?
It's huge and varied, and that suits me in a lot of ways. And in some ways it's wildly overwhelming. But we registered in 2022, having done a lot of research on whether we want to be a charity or a CIC. And then we've had some very kind funders who've believed in us and got us started with the basics, because we've always said we want to make sure that we're kind of future proofing as we go. So rather than starting, and then trying to develop new systems, like if we can get those systems to start with. And so we did that with things like accountancy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, we need somebody who we can work with. We need the software. So we got that right from the beginning. We have had all sorts of setbacks, trials, tribulations. Part of it's to do with how much time I've been able to commit. And I'm now what we call a sandwich carer. So I care for my mum as well as my son. Health setback when we set off going down in one direction, and then it's kind of we have to swerve a little bit. So we are at the stage now, it just happens that we're actually going to have our first permanent premises, and we're actually opening our scrap store in the new year, initially on a kind of bit of an ad hoc basis. So we're going to have individual events just until we make sure we've got enough stock to make it work. But yeah, we've got that far.
That's amazing. Where is this scrap startup going to be? Where's it going to be?
So we are very lucky to, as part of the journey, to have been able to trial our scrap store. So one of the things, kind of the major learning points, and a lot of people have problems with getting the first premises simply because of it's such a cost undertaking, is that we were property guardians.
Okay.
So there's a wonderful little letting agency called Ad Hoc who were advertising a property in Ashington Town Centre that had been shut for a while, and they were looking for a property guardian. So as a property guardian, you basically look after the place, you pay a low rent, you don't have to be responsible for the premises, and you're obviously you're then covering the kind of costs of some of the taxes and the utilities, which helps the landlord, but you're also showcasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you can get up to a year, before the landlord's saying, okay, kind of pay full rent. We're actually so successful in showcasing, we're only in the 3 months. So that felt like a setback at the time. but it did allow us to showcase pop-up scrap stores, show the kind of need for them and show how much they worked. And actually, as a result of that, we then got involved in some community events where we took a mini scrap store out into Ashington, and we've kind of managed to secure some quite big funding from Ashington Town Council to bring our services to the town as part of their kind of vision for regeneration. So yeah, they believe in us now, and we're getting started. So we're actually very near the new train station in Ashington, so it's quite accessible for the rest of the Northeast.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're hoping to open the doors in January.
It's amazing. And I can imagine quite a journey to get to that point.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard of the kind of GPS theory. So there's this GPS theory that you set your destination. And just like with the kind of GPS, if one route doesn't work, then you kind of reroute, and you know, the timing might change if there's a bit of a roadblock or you have something else to detour around. So I really kind of like that. So you kind of set the destination and you reroute as necessary. And one of the things that really helped with that is we set our kind of vision.
Mm-hmm.
With our volunteer directors, we set our loose plan, and then we set our principles. And we actually used the principles of permaculture, which is actually an environmental kind of gardening philosophy. And it's like, what do we want to do? And one of the key things was about making this sustainable for us. So we've kind of rewritten the plan, we've rewritten the timescales, we've done more on the inclusive volunteering whilst we waited to secure funding for the premises. So we've, yeah, if you looked at it on a map, it's not a straight line, but we are getting there. We're at our first destination, having our premises.
I completely agree with you there. A friend of mine always says to write your purpose in pen, but write your plan in pencil. And it's just really stuck with me for this sector, that I think if you can embrace that philosophy, that it's not going to be a straight line, all of those potential setbacks then or challenges along the way are just part of the rerouting. It isn't that there's a failure point, but rather there's a different way we're going to tackle this. Yeah, I love that. I love the GPS approach. How many people are you working with then? So across those different programs?
So it depends. One of the drawbacks of having the remote volunteering is that we're one step removed, but we've had various projects. We did individual volunteer packs for some of the older people. We got a small grant for that, and those go out through things like social prescribers, through some of the groups that support the elderly. We've currently got a wonderful mental health project where we've got various packs going out, and it's one of these things, once you've got started, the demand is huge because people see the value, and actually this is a small and accessible way of helping somebody feel that they have, they have worth. So we deal with a lot of people through those schemes. We probably close to 200 individual beneficiaries over the last couple of years, and that's growing. It's managing demands, the challenge with that. What is our pop-up scrap store? We had about 60 organisations, and there was a lot from education, nurseries, primaries, but all sorts of organisations, care homes, theatre groups and so on, coming in, filling a sack with resources.
Amazing. And is there a sort of an ongoing community then that you're developing here, or is it more of a people can come and go as they need to?
Yeah, so our community organisation network grows all the time, and more people hear about us and they're like, oh, have you got, or can we get involved? Volunteer, I mean, we've got such a wonderful little tribe of volunteers who are helping set up the scrap store. And so that's kind of, we're kind of managing that, but keeping it manageable as well, because we have to kind of look after those people. And at the minute, you can't move in the building full of stuff. So it is growing, and there's definitely going to be a growing demand. And I think that particularly once we're able to open regularly with the scrap store, then it will grow quite quickly. We talk regularly to the scrap stores across the country. They're very much a big community, and they have scrap swaps and all sorts.
Brilliant.
But yeah, they've said there's an increasing demand, and there's a lot of move in education back to that kind of loose parts creative play, because I think a lot of toys have become kind of closed and electronic, and even Lego, which used to be the biggest open-ended play, is now here's a kit, build it. So there's a real push in education, and particularly with the kind of post-COVID kids, to actually look at creativity again. So yeah, I can see increasing demand. I think the challenge should be managing it.
Yeah, definitely. And you're preaching to the choir there in terms of kids' activities. My kids love anything where it's a case of, sticking things together and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, we will definitely be coming to visit you. I wonder then, thinking about your journey so far, you said about the GPS route. Are there any other lessons that you've had along the way or advice that you would give to anyone at the start of this journey?
Yeah, I mean, there's that real thing about on a personal level, it's really easy to like allow imposter syndrome and kind of just to demoralize you. And when you have setbacks, you're like, oh yeah, no, I can't do this. And particularly when you focus on the skills gaps. I mean, I'm introverted. I have caring responsibilities that mean I have to duck out of events at the last minute, and rearrange things all the time. Not great at, I don't have an interest in finance to kind of get on top of that. And so there will be so much you don't know. There's so many skills you don't have, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a go. I mean, I just remind myself that like without my kind of belief that like repurpose wouldn't exist, and it might not be how I want it to be, and it might be moving more slowly. And I might beat myself up when I realise I've forgotten about that or didn't know about that. But, those skills gaps, everybody has them. And you'll meet people who help kind of fill those gaps. I mean, once I started, I met this amazing woman called Justine, who's been trying to push the reuse and creative reuse agenda in Ashington. And she knows everybody. I'm not from the area. We've just moved up. So it's a few years ago, but I don't know enough people to know the network. But when you meet the right people and you've got that, they help fill those gaps. That could be really helpful. But it's so easy to think, you've got to be perfect.
Yeah, completely agree. So, Vicky, you've got the audience, you've got the ears of our listeners. How can we help you on this mission? How can we engage with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so one of the lovely things about the kind of Changemaker network is about supporting each other and about that kind of informal networking, championing each other's causes. And that's the real thing I can ask is that now you know we exist, maybe have a look on our website at our kind of leaflet about the things that we can accept as donations. There's things we can, things we can't, and just champion us out there. And everybody knows somebody who works in a business, runs a business, whether it's your favourite coffee shop or the people who print your uniforms, and they will have stuff that could be donated to the scrap store. We're limited in terms of capacity, so it might be that actually if people can collect stuff for us and we can go, round it up, that would be great. But yeah, if they can just be aware that when people are throwing things out, thinking, hang on, is that something that the scrap store could benefit from? And also come and see us. Once we're open, come and we've got marvellous systems. Karibi Coffee, they give us their coffee sacks. And so that's our measure. So it's £10, fill a sack with resources.
Genius.
I know. And we have people who kind of de-stash their craft stuff to us as well. So we often have craft supplies as well. So yeah, come and see us. But also anybody who's involved in that climate change, waste reduction agenda, we'd love to kind of network. And one of the great things is when we get offered stuff that we can't have, we always make sure that we know of a place it can go.
Fabulous.
So yeah, keeping that kind of waste reduction agenda.
Brilliant. And we'll be sharing all of the links so that people can connect in with you after hearing this podcast. But for now, thank you ever so much for your time, Vicky. And good luck for the opening in the new year.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. You take care.
There's so much to take away from Vicky's talk. So I think I'm going to focus on her approach to developing and growing Repurposeful CIC. There were 3 elements to that for me that really shone through. Number 1, Vicky didn't have all of the robust skills and network in place before she got going. She also didn't have that 30-page business plan with how all of these different elements with the shop, with the volunteering, with the boxes, how all of those things were going to work together and the relationships needed to make them work. And yet it all is there. It's all working. She's got everything she needs for that company to thrive, where she personally didn't have those network connections. Other people have created those opportunities that then she's able to move into. So I'm not saying that there haven't been challenges along the way and that this is some beautiful straight line of an idea and everything just magically fell into place. That hasn't been the case. But Vicky was prepared to start that journey not having all of the jigsaw puzzle pieces in place. And I think that the organisation is almost stronger for it because it's been able to adapt and grow at the right pace rather than having almost artificial milestones in which it's had to try and keep up. So that's the first thing. I think then the idea of this permaculture approach to growth is really interesting. So after our chat, I had to go and have a little look into this because it's not something that I've done a lot of research on, really, and it's fascinating. If you imagine all of the things around what it takes for gardens, for the natural world to grow and to be sustainable and thrive, they're all applicable principles for your organization. So it's about sustainability, it's about balance and harmony, and it's about growth at a manageable pace. Anything that runs away, even if it's beautiful carrots, isn't helpful. You know, it's got to be that things are done in moderation and with robust plans and systems in place behind it. So I think that the growth strategy for Repurposeful CIC, it isn't growth for the sake of it. It isn't we want to be the massive go-to organization. It's about being able to respond and not react to opportunities and being really steadfast in that mission that is keeping that really clear at the forefront, which takes me on to the third takeaway from the talk, which was this GPS approach to strategy. And I really love this. I think this is a principle that I follow with Junction Point too, that we know our destination. We've got this beautiful picture that we can imagine this is possible, but we're totally prepared to embrace the journey to its twists and its turns, things working, things not, but actually enjoying the lessons along the way rather than trying to rush towards that in the straightest line possible. So I think those kind of, all of them together, to me, just ooze of growth mindset. And this is one of the key success factors that we see across all social founders, that if you can embrace this way of working, as Vicky has, it doesn't mean that challenges aren't going to come your way. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to be a challenge. But what it does mean is that you've got a toolkit and the resilience to be able to weather those storms in a much better way than if you didn't. So it's well worth going and checking out some growth mindset research and start building in those practices as to how you run your organization, how you plan your day, so that you can start to embed this different way of working. So don't forget to connect with Vicky. Check out all of her links. You can also subscribe to Chats with Changemakers for more brilliant interviews. And don't forget to join the Northeast Changemakers community to connect with more amazing people like Vicky. Finally, a huge thank you to Social Enterprise Academy for supporting this series and for their ongoing commitment to helping people grow the skills and the confidence to create real change. Catch you next time. If you've been inspired by what you've heard today, come and join our free Northeast Changemakers community to meet like-minded people and start your journey to changing the world.